And with that, I would like to invite Dr. Michael Butts up. He is running for Superintendent of Schools. Mr. Doctor, the floor is yours.
Thank you, George. Good afternoon, everybody. Are these the Green Valley Democrats?
They are.
How y'all doing?
Good.
Y'all a little quiet this afternoon.
Speak of weather.
So weather? Yeah, it was cloudy on the way down here the whole entire drive. So yes, I share that sentiment. I'm excited about getting to know you all. I'm going to try to stay stationary here for the camera, but I do like to kind of move around. But for the video purpose, I'll stay stationary because I understand that we're going to be videotaping and sharing this as a broadcast out. So I'm super excited about meeting you all and talking to you all. I do have a formal speech I want to give you, and then I'll move into questions and answers. How's that sound? All right. Well, let me go ahead and get started. My name is Michael Butts, and I am a proud father. One of my children is here with me, Lauren. Lauren, could you stand and say hi to everybody? She's in the 4th grade, and so very proud of her. She drove down with me today, and I wish I could have had her drive for me, but unfortunately, she's not on it. So, I am a former Cincinnati police officer from Cincinnati, Ohio, and I'm a teacher, an assistant principal, and an elected school board member with Roosevelt School Board. Besides being a father, my most proud moment, besides that, is being a Democrat who is running for Arizona Superintendent of Public Instruction. 20 years ago, I left the police force when I realized that I would never bend the arc of our children's futures toward success and moral courage if I did not reach them earlier. And I knew that the surest way to do that was by providing them access to excellent schools and qualified teachers. That's because knowledge is the ladder to opportunity. And that is what led me to teaching in public schools and earning my doctorate in education. As an educator, I worked in schools that serve communities of all backgrounds with many families living at or below the poverty line. What unites all of these schools, though, are the children. No matter where they live or what background they come from, they arrive for their first day of school curious, hopeful, and filled with potential. As they grow and learn, they begin to dream about what it is they can do in the world and about the person they can one day become. Their future is unwritten, and all things are possible. To help students on this journey, there's a dedicated team of professionals in our public schools. Some of you may be in the room today. Some of you may be retired. From teachers and administrators, social workers, food service personnel, bus drivers, individuals that help students who have 504s or individual education plans, right? Call them paraprofessionals. And the men and women who ensure campus safety and operations. They're there to support learning, and they need our support too. Right now, they're not getting it. Like you, I've seen the legislature starve education, siphon money into private schools, denigrate science, ban books, underpay teachers, and even try to rewrite American history. Now, Donald Trump is jumping in with even more funding cuts, abolishing the Department of Education, moving K-12 administration over to the Department of Labor, and shutting down the Department of Education. And I believe that he is inflicting on us some of the most cruelest, divisive politics that we have ever seen here in America. Amen. And is Superintendent Tom Horn, is he fighting to protect our children? No. In fact, he actually said that Donald Trump should abolish the Department of Education. Tom Horn has partnered in Arizona schools with an alt-right curriculum and that teaches that slavery was, and I quote, something good to achieve something great. It also teaches that fossil fuels aren't causing global warming. And that murder victim, George Floyd, was, again I quote, a black man who resisted arrest. We need to get the damaged, intolerant people who teach false history and deny science out of our public schools. At this moment in Arizona, children in schools just don't need another administrator. They need a champion, a leader who values public education and free thinking, and who will fight for them at the Capitol. That's what I'll do in this election as your next superintendent. I am the only candidate running clean. I am the only candidate that is beholden to no one. And as a people power candidate, I will never stop fighting for public schools. I hope you'll join me in my campaign to protect the dreams and opportunities of a new generation. And I hope you'll become a part of this effort to return the oversight of public schools back to leaders who want to see them succeed. Thank you. Any questions?
So how is it closer? How was the money started giving away? I mean, they've had these schools for years, and they used to have a income level, and they got rid of the, if I'm not mistaken, they got rid of the income that anybody can get it if you make $1 million.
Yes, great question. They have been, Arizona legislature, Republican-controlled legislature, they have been privatizing education for over 10 years now. And you're right, it started systematically, and there's been updates along the way to where we are now, which is by far the biggest scam in Arizona. Okay, most of you know and remember the poor legislation that came out in 2006, 2008 regarding alternative fuel legislation, and so what they discovered through that legislation is that people were buying these alternative fuel vehicles, and they were turning around and flipping them and selling them for profit. And it took about 123 million of our taxpaying dollars. And so it was a big boondoggle back in 2008. But this is by far the biggest scam since then. We're approaching $1 billion of your, mine, our tax dollars going into private schools. So, great question.
Mike.
I was just curious about where you grew up and went to, for instance, elementary through high school.
Sure. So I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. I've been in Arizona for about 20 years. I went to Whitman Woods High School, which is a high school in Cincinnati. And but when I moved out here, I went to ASU and got my bachelor's degree in communications. And then I went on to get my master's of educational leadership at Northern Arizona University. And I've just completed my doctorate in educational leadership from Northern Arizona University in May this year. And so I was waiting to finish that degree and defend my dissertation before I could launch the campaign. I defended my dissertation April 18th, and then I launched my campaign April 30th for Superintendent of Public Instruction.
Very good. So going back to the voucher system, I went to another event, because I'm running for the State House, by the way.
Oh, awesome.
Thank you. And this woman approached me at this other event, and she said the independents love the voucher system. And if we as Democrats want to take that away, well, we're not going to take it away because it's a law unless we change the law. But I kept saying to her, we need to have some kind of accountability. What would your outline be on that type of a topic? How can we bring them back in? Because these students, my neighbor, her 3 kids, no high, I mean, yes, they have a GED, but work has been rather interesting.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah, and I appreciate that question. So there are a lot of things that happen in the background with these ESA vouchers. And for example, have you all seen this handbook, ESA handbook?
Yeah.
You have? Okay. It's a complete joke, by the way. It's not a handbook. I call it a how-to guide of how to steal our taxpaying dollars and put them in private schools. That's what it's a how-to guide for me. That's how I look at it. And so we've got to get real serious about these ESA vouchers. We don't have time for candidates to play around with the terminology, the language. We've got to stop it. We got to back enough pro-public legislators and candidates for Senate and House that will put guardrails in place to slow down our tax dollars coming out of public schools, and so eventually we can stop it altogether. Other states have guardrails and guidelines in place. We don't, and as a result, we're at $1 billion now. And schools are having to close. And it used to matter, right? It used to matter what zip code your school was in, but now it's schools in every zip code that's facing closures because of the ESA vouchers. Okay, so one of the things I'll share one thing that I plan on doing right now. Tom Howard is approving any ESA voucher that is $2,000 or less. Day one, getting into office with your help, I will stop that. So we'll put it into the automatic approvals, and they'll have to go through the scrutiny that other applications have to go through. Okay.
Good.
Great question. Yes.
Back here first.
Oh, back here.
I actually have two questions. My first question is, my understanding is that there are very few standards for educational training for these private schools. Is that basically a true statement, or are there?
So, great question. Public schools have to have certified teachers. And when a particular teacher loses that certification, or it's going to be approaching expiration date, the school has to send out a communication to the community and inform them about that specific teacher certification. Well, in these private schools, you don't have to do that. So they don't have the same requirements that public schools are held to as far as standards goes, as far as teacher certification goes. And so that's a problem. But yes, they have a lot more reign, and they're using our tax dollars, and that's just quite unfair.
Now, are most of these private schools religious? Is that true?
Not all of them, but a lot of them have a religious component, and that's why parents like them, because they get to indoctrinate their kids according to the religion of their choice. But it should be on their dime, not ours.
It seems like the only kids to really be put into this, a voucher kind of thing for selection, are those with disabilities and some, physical disabilities. Like the kids that were like an inclusion kind of kids when we were in schools and stuff. They seem to be the only ones that really should have that exemption. That, and sometimes if you have lower income or you have others that may not be tuned to the English language, that they may be able to get some waivers to be able to go to other schools that might be able to teach them English, so we can get them ready for graduation, for 8th grade graduation at least. Would you not agree?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I'm glad you brought up students with disabilities. Can we talk about that for a moment? So in this handbook, another interesting perspective in this handbook, or how-to guide, is that they talk about students with disabilities, and when it comes to them using the vouchers, they want public schools to be responsible financially for testing these students for the purpose of using that information at a private school. So they want our public schools to do all the testing, our school psychologists to do all the testing, but then send their kids to a private school. Does that make sense?
No.
Absolutely not. So that puts an unnecessary, undue financial burden on our public schools. Who's next?
Tom's got a question, and then we'll switch it over here.
Yeah, on ESAs, how much support do you need from the legislature to make change? Can you do it, much of it, without flipping the legislature to Democratic control?
Great question.
You as a superintendent?
Yeah, I do need the help of the legislature. There's things I can do in office, in the superintendent seat, but then there are things that I can't do, and so that's what I need the legislature to do. And we have to flip the legislature. There's a lot of focus on LD 13. There's a few other LDs that the state is looking at to flip, and so I encourage you to, pay attention to those particular LDs as well. But yes, we've got to flip the legislature if we really want to put a control and get a handle on these vouchers. Yes.
Thank you for your information. My question is, your comment about being the only clean candidate, you enlarge on that a little bit? I mean,
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So when I launched my campaign, we had a 2-day retreat, and we talked about our pathway to victory. And so it was important for us that we took the time to spend on a solid plan. And part of that plan is running as a clean elections candidate. There are very specific and strategic reasons why you would not run clean, okay? And I'll just leave that there for a moment. But I chose to run clean because I pledged that I would not accept donations from large donors. Okay, the most an individual person can give to my campaign is $220. I also pledged not to accept donations from special interest groups, which there's a bunch out there that are backing candidates, and you'll want to pay attention to that. And then also I've pledged to open up my campaign finance books to more scrutiny. Okay. All right, so what I have to do is I have to collect $5 from 1,500 people and turn that into the state, and the state will give me money to talk to voters. Okay, I would love to have 100% participation today of getting those $5. I have the contribution forms pre-filled out. All you have to do is put your name and address and sign it, and then we can collect those $5 as well. I also have some extra ones if you want to help me collect $5 from your local circles, your family, your friends, right? Okay, so.
And you can do that on equal as well, but as long as you've got them here, let's hand them out.
All right, so here you go. It's 2 forms per envelope, in case you're with someone else. But yes, so thank you. That's a great question about running clean, okay? And that's important because here's the thing. We knew before we launched that we could win by running clean. In the last race for superintendent of public instruction, just to give you a perspective, we were outspent as a Democratic Party. We were outspent for this race by $700,000, which is a lot of money, right? And you would think that the Republican Party candidate won by a huge margin. Well, they didn't. They won by a little less than 9,000 votes, okay? And so there are things that we have put in place to make sure that we have a strong pathway to victory running as a clean elections candidate. I mentioned to you I'm on the Roosevelt School Board, right? Well, I won my seat by 14,000 votes, okay? So that's more votes than the 9,000 that the Republican candidate beat our candidate with, okay? So we're talking about a local school board race that could be the deciding factor here, all right? Of course, we want to destroy the competition, right? But a win is a win. And so I would love to have your support with the $5 donations. If you've already signed for another candidate for this race, you cannot sign for my petition. But if you have not signed yet, I would love to have your signature on my petition to help me get on the ballot if there was something that you liked about my background. Educators are calling me uniquely qualified with my teaching background and my administration background, both in elementary and in high school. And so we know what school districts need to be supported. We know how they operate, and we know what we need to do in this office to make sure that public schools have what they need to be successful so that our kids have what they need to be academically successful. Thank you.
My background was in education, mostly special education. What is your background, or what are your thoughts about how special education should operate in Arizona?
Sure, absolutely. So right now, the courts have ruled that public schools are being funded in an unconstitutional way. Okay, so that's just general education, right? Now, students with IEPs, individual education plans, and 504s, they need more support, and it costs more to educate those students. And so if the general public students, general body of students, are underfunded in an unconstitutional way, can you imagine what it's doing to students who need more support, right? So we've got to invest in our students. We have to spend more money per dollar in order to get our academics up from 49th in the country. We just simply have to do that. There's no way around it, right? They are wonderful and amazing educational leaders that are running these school districts that know exactly what to do once we get the money in their hands. Okay, it's not always about money, but that's a great start. And those leaders know what to do once you get the money in their hands. Thank you.
You got my walking shoes on today?
Whenever I've watched Tom Horn on TV, extolling the virtues of it, how come no one talks about your ranking? As a person from Wisconsin, our ranking of 1 out of 50 was very important. And Arizona is what, 48, 49, or 50th? How come we don't hear about that? I think that's not enough. Not enough. I think parents are complacent. I don't think they know about it.
Sure.
And I'm thinking maybe when you could say if we could get the testing for everybody, maybe that ranking could go up. I'm just shocked at the ranking here and the voucher system that has worked. In Wisconsin, I know that's a biggie. That doesn't fly in Wisconsin well. So.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. The Republican, Superintendent Tom Horn, he criticizes the ranking. He criticizes the ranking. He says that the ranking is not an accurate reflection of education in Arizona, and that's just ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous, right? So they downplay our ranking and the numbers and the formulas used to figure out that ranking. They criticize that heavily. So yes, that's how they address it. But you and I know that the ranking is a horrible picture of what we're capable here in Arizona. We're capable of a lot more. And if you look at how much or how little we are spending per student to educate per student, right? How much money we're spending per student, and you look at other states, it is no wonder we are at the bottom. Okay, and there's a direct correlation to how much money you spend per student to their success, their academic success in school. Yes.
I was just talking to Dr. Butts, and he
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm messing up the flow. My apologies.
We had, I spoke to Dr. Butts just earlier, but we have had Save Our Schools here, and that is really an active thing. If you're not on Facebook with them, it really is important to read because it's all over the state of where they are. And there's the women, and they work so hard at this. But I was just talking to Dr. Butts about Imago Dei Middle School and the things that they're doing, and that is a nonprofit school, no Title I, no vouchers. It's for pretty much, we're trying to break the cycle of poverty through education. And that's our philosophy, and it's mainly by tax credits that we have from companies, C Corps, S Corps, and private tax credits. So when you do your taxes, this is the kind of thing that you can give to. If you don't want to give to the Salvation Army, you give to education. And that now they're through the Episcopal school, but we don't get funds from the Episcopal diocese specifically. But I was saying to him that our graduation rate for our children, because we have a 2-to-1 ratio of teachers to students, our class sizes are less than 20 sometimes. We have 87 students from 4th grade to 8th grade. And their graduation rate into high school, we get them placed in a high school. Ours is 98, 97%, 97 last year, 98 it's for this year. And we're really proud of them. They speak so well, they really conquer so much with, learning the English language too.
Thank you.
Somebody just asked.
There's some amazing schools out there doing amazing things.
A lot of the good stuff. Somebody just asked me, if I've signed somebody else's petition, can I still give $5? Yes,
Yes,
the
you
answer,
can.
the answer is yes, you can. So please
Yes,
do
you
so
can.
if you could.
The $5 contribution does not have the same requirement, and I'm the only candidate running clean anyway for superintendent of public instruction. So you can sign someone else's petition and still donate the $5.
Dr. Butts, I see from time to time there's letters to the editor. I read letters to the editor a lot, and they say that we have a discipline problem in the schools where teachers are not allowed to discipline their students, and this supposedly, along with the lagging pay, is the reason they're leaving the profession in Arizona. Do you think that's so? And if so, what will be done about it?
Sure. So great question. So yes. So let me speak on the teacher shortage and teachers leaving the profession. As an administrator, we have conversations about making sure that teachers feel supported. And when we discipline students, we have that in mind, right? And there are certain things that when we are dealing with a case-by-case scenario, student-by-student scenario, there are certain things that we have to do as far as following our discipline policies. And sometimes teachers do feel unsupported, although it is not the intent. Sometimes they do feel unsupported with what's happening in the classroom. But that's why we as administrators, we have to have a discipline matrix. And research shows that when school districts have a discipline matrix, teachers feel more supported in the classroom. And when you have a discipline matrix, basically a matrix is this. It says that if a student does this behavior for the second time, right, in this school year, then this is the consequence they get, right? And that keeps things fair and equitable across the board. Okay, so that way students aren't feeling like they're being overly disciplined or not being disciplined in the same manner as student B. And so a discipline matrix is one of the strategies to having a really sound discipline program, discipline policy in the school district, research shows. And so yes, teachers do sometimes feel unsupported, and that can contribute, and it has contributed to teachers leaving the profession, along with teacher pay. And that's just something that when you talk about the calculation of how much we spend per student, that gets calculated into how much you're paying teachers. And so we've got to increase our teacher pay for sure. So yes, I read that same article as well, but it's accurate.
And it's not only just our teachers' pay, but our infrastructure on our teachers. Many of the school boards in our area just had to have a voter override to allow them to shore up their buildings. Some of them did not have air conditioning, some of them, their gyms were falling apart, so they just had an override to make sure their budget got. I think somebody had a question over there, let me come over there.
So, do they have to test?
A little bit close.
Do they have to test the private schools as how much the kids are learning?
Private schools have their own standards. They have their own, policies, and they're not because they're funded differently. When you talk about federal dollars going into public schools, there are accountability measures that come with them, so they have different testing requirements. So they don't have the same requirements.
But if you compare to the private and the public schools, you know what it'd be like?
I'm sorry, can I hear that one more time?
Just the idea of testing the private schools against the public schools. How would the children do?
That's a great question. I'm not sure on how to assess that.
That would be a tough one, yeah.
Yeah, right, that'd be
Under
tough.
current standards, it would be difficult to
Mhm.
formulate.
Yeah. Yeah, but good question though.
Good
Yeah.
point, yeah.
And I think most public school leaders would love to see how they stack up to all students in Arizona. So most school leaders are in agreement with that.
Dude, I've heard comments that even in private high schools, they don't even issue a certificate of graduation. Have you heard of that?
I haven't heard that.
When I was in teaching, class size was a big issue. Can you speak to class sizes over the state? Are there discrepancies? Do we have some class size limitations or recommendations for public schools?
Yeah, when I was thinking about writing my dissertation, I was first interested in school finance, and the research that I came across is that you really should have somewhere between a 14, 15, 16 student ratio per teacher. I mean, you're doing real good, right, at that number. And you're going to see a lot more high academic success at that level, right? But it also requires more money per student, okay? And so the Republican legislature isn't going for that. So we're seeing 25, 30. Rural school districts might see a little bit of a different number, but for the major areas, you're seeing about 25 to 30 students.
Cut in our rural district, it not only affects students, but it affects the whole town, because a town, Saturday night lights, Sunday morning basketball, all those things hinge around, and those are some of the first things that will be cut as the extracurricular, the band, gym, and all that stuff. So it affects the whole towns in these rural areas.
Yeah, schools are having to close programs, and I'm talking about right in the middle of the school year. So, sometimes when they close a school program, they'll grandfather the students that are already in the program, but no, some of them are having to eliminate the entire program and take the kids out of that program altogether and put them in something different. So we've got a real problem, folks. And this is why I want your support. This is why I want your help to get me in the primary election and survive the primary election and then go into the general election and kick who's ever behind we got to kick, whether it's Kimberly Yee or Tom Horn.
Yeah, I just had a short comment question. I think it's true that the private schools can reject or accept anybody they want to. It's a lot different than what the public schools have to do.
Right. Yeah.
So they're probably going to get higher scores, most likely, I would think, because of that.
Yeah. They cherry pick their students, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they're even accepting, they accept the students, and then once they hit that 100th day of school, they say, this may not be the best environment for your son or daughter. And they gently guide them out of the door to back to us, a public school, who accepts everybody.
Which affects our funding.
Yeah.
If the student comes in the middle of the semester, he wasn't there at the beginning, it
Yes.
affects the funding. So if they bounce him over to us, we're really educating that student
For free. Yeah, because the money's not going to follow that student after that 100th day. Yes. Yes. So you're going to help me win?
Yeah, we got it. Thank you very much. Anybody else have any?